Welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin. All right, let's talk about Tritium. I wanted to make a video about Tritium probably 6 months ago when Simon Crane got his sub, because it was a Tritium sub. And by the way, I don't think he's really watching YouTube videos about watches anymore. I'm not really sure, but a belated 6-month-old, congratulations for that, Simon. Awesome watch. Submariner date. Yeah, well, Tritium. We love our Tritium. I love my Tritium. Tritium dial, Tritium hands, Tritium pip. I don't have a Tritium pip anymore on the bezel. We'll talk about that in a minute. But Tritium is great because of that patina. It tends to patina, which is neat. Now, that's not why I bought Tritium sub. When I bought my sub, I was going for the cheapest thing out there. I mean, I was sort of I was already intimidated by the fact that a sub was several $1,000s. I like many non-watch people, when I got the desire to get a sub and I started searching the prices for them, I was thinking, what, like $1,000, $2,000. In fact, a lot of non-watch people think that. I had a coworker who checked out my sub when I got it, and he knew I had gotten it pre-owned, and he looked at it and he complimented it. And this is a non-watch guy, and he said, "What did you pay for it? $1,500?" And I thought, wow. I told him, I said, "You clearly don't know sub prices. Google them. Google those sub prices." Well, anyway, I was looking for a sub, and I wanted to go the cheap route. So the Tritium dialed watches were the cheap ones here in Japan. No box, no papers. Why don't I tell you what I paid for it? I paid 420,000 yen. All right, so at the time I thought it was a lot. Now when you look at them, that's kind of a good deal. I think I could sell it for more than that now. Granted, I'm about $1,000 more in it with the services. Yeah, back onto the topic, Tritium. One of the things that I like the idea of is the fact that I would possibly be able to watch it patina. It would be kind of fun and to see it patina. And I think a lot of people think that. They want to see it turn brown, and they want to make it get brown. And I do that too. I'll stick it in a drawer and hope that it browns up a little bit. But I realize that there is a big downside to Tritium, and it's not just the fact that there's like a half-life and it doesn't function in the evenings. It's that you can't get parts for Tritium dials, and you can't get parts anymore. Well, I mean, you can probably buy parts on eBay or whatnot, but there are no parts to be had at Rolex. So when I had my watch serviced, and I've mentioned this before, they told me that there was a distinct likelihood that it might come back with non-Tritium hands. And they couldn't tell me until after the fact. So I'd get Luminova hands on a Tritium dial, and I'd have to pay for it. And that's not something I wanted, and I crossed my fingers, and for a month I was like, how am I going to feel about this? Well, luckily they were able to make it work. You see that a lot here. You'll see old GMTs with Tritium dials, but then the hands are really white. You see that a lot here, and it's not like they give a discount for that. I don't think I could buy a watch like that. If it happens in the future, it's the way it goes. But it's a risk if you take your watch to the Rolex service center. So that's something that Simon Crane is going to have to think about. Now, when I get a new watch, when I get a new Rolex, and it's happened 3 times, I like to have it serviced through Rolex. Okay, I like to make sure it's not on some sketchy stolen watch list. I like to have that Rolex polish. Nobody polishes like Rolex. On a side note, I think they use a machine to polish. I'm not really sure, but it comes back so uniform and perfect. And, you know, I just don't think really anybody can polish a watch like Rolex can. Now, refer yourself to the what's the commercial that always plays on Archie Luxuries time. You'll keep having your $5,000. That one. Well, there's a little clip where the watch is getting polished, and he's sort of just eyeballing it. Right? He's just sort of grinding it down, and you know, there's nothing to keep one lug from being more ground than the other. Check out that advertisement. You sort of eyeballing it and rolling it around the grinder, and I'm sure it looks great afterwards, but it's not going to be uniformed, and that's something that I think is unacceptable. So I really like to have a used piece serviced by Rolex, checked out by Rolex, make sure everything is all peachy with it and there's nothing aftermarket, and have a polish, you know, if it needs it. And my sub needed it. But when you have a tritium dialed watch, there's that risk that it's going to come back with those non-tritium hands. And you know, I made it out this time with my tritium hands. But I've noticed that on the hour marker, it just looks like the tritium is depleting on just one of those little sections. It looks like there's a few molecules of tritium left, and so I don't think if I took it back, I don't think it'd make it out with tritium hands again. I think what would happen is they would, you know, I don't know if they clean the tritium hands by just taking off a thin layer, but I think if you took off a thin layer of that, you would see through the hands. Just it's one little spot on that hour hand, on that Mercedes hand, and I think I'd get new tritium hands. So I can never really take that watch back to RSC if I want to keep those tritium hands. So I will probably go third party to have that watch serviced in the future, and I'm not going to have it polished again. I had it polished once, and so any nicks that come are my nicks, and so I'm cool with those. Now, I did have the pip changed. When I say pip, sorry, the bezel insert, and like in retrospect, that was a mistake, but the bezel was scratched up, and I kind of wanted a new one, and I just thought it wouldn't bother me, and after the fact, I really thought about it, and it did, but that's gone. I mean, I've got a glowing pip and a brand new Schmicko bezel insert. But if I had it to do again, what I would do is I would take it to a third party. I would have him take out the bezel. I would take it in for a service, and I would tell Rolex that I dropped the watch, lost the insert, and then I'd have the service. And hopefully then I'd be able to keep my tritium hip, my tritium bezel, and I would pay for a new one. Now, I don't know if that would work, but I will say that I don't think you could be glib about it. I don't think you could go in there and, I lost my bezel, wink, wink. I think it would be behind the person behind the desk. I think it would be at their discretion to hook you up. I wouldn't put it past somebody at Rolex to say, yeah, we can't replace that with that. I don't know. I'm not sure what they would do, but what I'm saying is I would really make sure that that fib was sold to him. I would say I dropped the watch and the insert came out, or the bezel came off, and I couldn't find the insert, and I put the, here's the bezel separately, and can I get a new insert? And I don't know what to do, and so hopefully they'd hook me up. I think it would be fine, but that way you could keep your bezel. So you can't do that with the hands, I suppose. No, I don't think that would work. I mean, you'd have to take it to a third party. They'd have to take off the hands, and it'd just be a mess. So that's a regret. If you In fact, that's a great way to sort of keep your bezel, perhaps. When I say bezel, I mean insert. Get somebody to take it out and then take it to Rolex and perhaps tell them you've lost it, and that way you can have your vintage bezel, your vintage insert, and then get the new one, because they don't return parts. That's one thing that Rolex doesn't do. Anyway, so the whole point of this is to think really careful about tritium and about if you want to take it to RSC, because you might lose your tritium hands, and they're not going to be able to hook you up with new tritium hands, and you're going to get Luminova. If I had it to do again, would I go tritium? Probably not. I mean, as much as I look forward to the patina, I probably would go Luminova, just because I could stick to Rolex services in the future. But yeah, so think twice before tritium. It's great though. Love that patina. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time.